Hello, everyone, and I hope that you are enjoying the Booked and Paid Speaker Blueprint podcast. If this is your first time joining us, please subscribe, rate, and review the show. And if you know any other speakers that are looking to get booked and paid to speak, please share the episode with them. We're on YouTube and on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you so much for joining us. If you've been joining us and you've been enjoying the episodes, please let me know. You can email me. The website is in the show notes along with the social media channels. Please let me know what you think. And if there is a topic that you want me to cover and some questions that you want me to answer, please let me know. The next two episodes, we're going to talk about the foundations and the positioning. The past couple of episodes, I've kind of bunny hopped around. We talked about speaker fees, what event planners are looking for. And what I did was touch on a couple topics that I know that speakers are looking for. How your social media is hurting you, how your social media can help you, the speaker fees, how do you book yourself? And I went kind of surface level. In the next episodes, I'm going to go super deep on certain parts that I know that speakers need help on. The next two episodes are going to talk about your foundation and positioning. Positioning is everything. Either you position yourself or the marketplace will position you. If you've never heard that before, write it down, play this back. This is the key piece in every business and every speaker needs to hear. You position yourself or the marketplace will position you. We're so over-rotated on branding. It's become the colors and the logos, and that's pretty much it. But your brand is your reputation. Your brand represents you. Your positioning takes that a step further. Your positioning is how people perceive and receive the value that you deliver. So your branding is how people think about you when they see a certain logo, when they hear your tagline, when they say, oh, he's a coach, like, oh, that person, they're a speaker, they're a business owner, they're an entrepreneur, whoever you are, the branding is your reputation. It's are you top of mind? Then the positioning deepens those roots. Your positioning is what gets you into the hearts and minds of people. So you could be a motivational speaker, but then you're lumped with everybody. You could be a podcaster, but then you're lumped in with everybody. And authors lumped in with everybody. We need to add something to it. And so in the next two episodes, we're going to talk about the niche, the brand, the market position, all the things that you hear a lot of on social media, but people don't exactly know what it means. So let's start at the positioning part. The way I define positioning is how the marketplace perceives the value that you deliver. If they don't know what you do and how you do it, they don't know how you're going to be positioned. They don't know what to think about you. So the marketplace just says, oh, they do this. A great exercise that you could do on social media, they say, hey, everyone, I know we've been connected for quite a while. Maybe this is your first time kind of reading my posts. I'm curious what it is that you think that I do. Please put in the comments what it is that you think that I do, and then let the comments roll. If nobody comments, keep sharing it out. Share it to your stories. You can make a poll on Instagram or on your Facebook story. Make a poll and just put a couple different options in there. But what I want you to do is that I want you to poll your audience. I want you to poll your network. And I want you to ask them what it is that they think that you do. And if they say, I don't know, or one guy told me when I told him this, he says, man, everybody thought I was a car salesman. What happened was a month prior, he was at the dealership and took a picture like they always do when you buy a car. He took a picture and it was him in front of the car. He was like, oh, this car's great, whatever. They were like, oh, he's a car salesman. He's like, what? He's like, I bought a car. Like, but that's the only car post, but it's the most recent. And that's why it's the most top of mind. So what I want you to do is go to social media and post on there and ask your network what it is that you do. The way that you establish authority, the way that You get to position yourself as a speaker. People need to know what you speak on. They need to know who you speak to and how you want to be positioned in the marketplace. When I'm talking to event planners, I tell them I'm a certified master resilience speaker. I'm a certified John Maxwell leadership speaker, and I'm a business positioning strategist. So, depending on what event planner I speak to, let's say they're looking for resilience or looking for leadership, and I tell them, like, hi, I'm a certified master resilience speaker. I'm a certified John Maxwell leadership speaker, and I speak a lot on building resilient leaders in organizations and turning high performers into unstoppable achievers. Right off the bat, this is what I do. This is who I speak to. That allows them to go, okay, we can kind of work with that. If they tell me that they're looking for change management, I'll tell them I'm a certified master resilient speaker and I speak on change management in the mental, social, emotional, and spiritual domains of health and wellness and resilience. I speak directly to what they're looking for because I know what they're looking for. If I don't know what they're looking for, then I just tell them I'm a certified master resilience speaker, I'm a certified John Maxwell leadership speaker, and I built 4 successful businesses over the last 20 plus years. And I served in the military. And I've lived, worked, and led teams all around the world. And so I am a resilience speaker, leadership speaker. I speak on team building and team performance and business positioning strategies because I don't know exactly what they're looking for sometimes. And that's what I tell them. And they're like, okay, that's great. Well, we're kind of looking for someone to do this. I'm like, okay. So your job is to speak directly to what they're looking for. Most speakers are not getting booked because they themselves are unclear. And this is something that we work directly on in the first month of the Book to Paid Speaker Blueprint. We define the niche, the brand, and the market positioning. You're not getting booked enough because you're unclear. I talked to a guy one time who wanted to work with me, and he goes, "Oh man, you put me on stage, I can speak about anything." I'm like, no, you can't. He's like, "Oh no, I'm serious, man. You put me on stage, I'll nail it." I'm like, "Well, there's a TEDx talk in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it's on women's reproductive health, and it's in March, and it's Women's History Month." He goes, "Put me on a stage. I can do it." I'm like, "You're a guy and not a doctor. How can you speak on women's reproductive health as a man and not a doctor? Like, you're not a medical professional. Like, how you going to speak on that?" He's like, "Oh man, I'll research it. Like, I'm like, this is wild." So far, he's not been booked for very many things. And he's unclear. He's like, I can speak to everyone. If you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. If you're not unclear yourself, the market is even more unclear. How you position yourself is everything. If you're not clear about what you talk about and who you talk to, the market is going to be unclear as well. So many speakers that I talk to, they're unclear for a couple different reasons, but one main reason, they're afraid to pigeonhole themselves into one topic when maybe they can. Maybe like I can speak on 4, but and I do all the time: resilience, leadership, team building, and team performance, and business positioning strategies. What I'm doing on this podcast is business positioning strategies. I speak to entrepreneur events. I speak to a lot of chamber. I got 3 chamber events that I'm speaking at this year in 2026. And it's going to be specifically on market positioning and category design. A lot of my talks are on building resilient leaders. I've combined resilience and leadership to create a building resilient leaders and organizations talk and turning high performers into unstoppable achievers. I spoke at the Philadelphia Eagle Stadium last year on that specific topic. If an event planner cannot instantly categorize you, they're not going to book you. What they were looking for, because we're at the stadium, what they were looking for was, how do I create these high performers and turn them into the next level, transform them into the unstoppable achievers that we need. If I cannot tell in the first 10 seconds what you speak on and who you speak to, you are not getting booked. There's a couple speakers that I talked to, and they're like, "Oh man, I'm booked consistently. I'm booked all the time." I'm like, okay, well, how many times a month? They're like, well, I mean, it really depends. I'm like, give me an average. Like, how many gigs did you do in 2025? Like, oh, well, I think I did like 10. Okay, well, that's pretty much like one a month. I mean, that's not all the time. Like, well, I mean, and then we start digging in. And then on our discovery calls, I really find out, they're like, well, I mean, I get maybe one a month, maybe, like that's not all the time. Two, three, four times a month is consistently all the time. Now, if you're booked once a month for a paid gig, that's awesome. If it's a $5,000 gig, you get one every month for 12 months. That's 60K. I mean, it's a pretty healthy salary. Most people make between 50, 60, 70,000. So that's pretty good. If you want to increase the bookings consistently, 2 to 4 bookings a month. If it's podcasts, virtual stages, live events, if you can't tell me in the first 10 seconds what you speak on, and it's this long, dramatic minute answer, you're not getting booked. When speakers say, I speak on leadership, mindset, resilience, business, that is generic positioning. You're telling the event planner, these are the topics. Leadership is always one of the hot topics. They're always going to look for leadership because the C-suite or the middle managers or the supervisors, they all need leadership training. A lot of times what event planners tell me is they need leadership training because they weren't taught leadership training whenever they went from an employee to a supervisor. They're like, come on Monday, you're getting promoted. Come on Monday, you're going to lead this department, but there's no train the trainer. There's no leadership training. There's no supervisor training. There's nothing. In the military, you can't go from an E4 to an E5 non-commissioned officer without going to Airman Leadership School, which is Air Force, Airman Leadership School. You can't go to be an NCO without going to the NCO Academy. Like you have to go to these schools and these training programs so that you know how to lead your people. And they teach you how to lead people, how to do performance reports, how to have corrective behavior, how to lead and not just boss people around. Event planners don't book generalists. So when I say I speak on resilience, leadership, team building, team performance, and business positioning strategies, specifically category design, and I'm waiting, I just be quiet. If there's too long of a pause, then I'll say, what exactly are you looking for on the topic? And then they say, well, we're really looking for a team building speaker because they may be unclear themselves. Well, I'm looking for a team building speaker. Okay, perfect. Got it. Okay, so here's what I can do for team building. And then I jump in and I tell them exactly what I'm going to do specifically in that niche of a topic. I want you to remember that a confused message equals no bookings. So I want you to pick one category. We'll exercise this thing. And this is what I work on in the book to paid speaker blueprint. If you want to get booked and paid to speak consistently, get a hold of me and let's talk about you joining the program. This is an exercise that we do. So I want you to pick one category, one core category, whether it be leadership, sales, resilience, mental health, culture. These are all hot topics that are booked consistently. Leadership, sales, resilience, mental health, and culture. Now that you have the topic, I want you to pick an audience, whether it be corporate leadership teams, HR departments, associations, students, veterans. And what I want you to do is pick one audience that topic would fit. Associations is a big group. It could be ERGs, it could be corporate, it could be conferences. But when you speak at conferences, you have to know the audience. The audience is not a conference, or the conference is not the audience. It's who's attending that conference, who's attending that event, because a conference could be an association event. So you need to define the actual audience. Don't say, well, I'm a conference speaker. Well, yes, but who's the audience? Once you have that, I want you to create a positioning statement. Some people call it, I call it a positioning statement. Some people call it a proposition statement, a value statement, something. And it's like, I blank. I help, I work, I whatever, like what you do with who so that they, and then whatever it is. So like here's my proposition statement or my value statement is I work with speakers. So I actively work. I don't like help because it's like I helped my friend move a couch and got paid him beer and pizza. I'm not going to go speak for beer and pizza. So helping to me suggests you're free or you're not paid a whole lot. I work, I, whatever it is that you do, I work with speakers, that's my audience, to increase their paid bookings or to increase their speaker business or to build their speaker business so that and then what's the outcome? Because as a speaker, you sell outcomes so that they increase their paid gigs, increase their paid bookings, get them to book, get them paid to speak consistently, something like that. So, for example, you could say, I work with HR leaders to reduce burnout by building resilient teams, something like that. I work with HR leaders to reduce burnout by building resilient teams. And then on the end, what is that? So it's like, okay, you've arrived. We've built the resilient teams. Or as a guy who works with speakers, I work with the speaker. Okay, we've increased your bookings. Like, now what? Right? So answer the now what, because event planners want an outcome. You as a speaker are selling an outcome. I work with never help. I work with HR leaders, or I speak to HR leaders, or I speak at HR conferences to reduce burnout by building resilient teams so that and then whatever the outcome is. Category design is a little known business discipline used to create and dominate the market. Positioning matters. So you need to create your own category. What I've created is what I call the invisible speaker trap. The invisible speaker trap are speakers who aren't necessarily bad speakers, but they're invisible to the event planners because they're a generalist. They're like, I'm a motivational speaker, but you haven't created your own speaker. So instead of saying I'm a leadership speaker, you could say, like for me, I build resilient leaders. You're like, oh my gosh, like I love that. So it's not just a leadership speaker. You could say, I speak to HR leaders, I speak to management, corporate management, middle managers, upper managers. You speak to whoever the audience, I speak to association directors, which is awesome because there's a lot of association director conferences. And those association directors that attend that conference have associations that they are in charge of and need speakers for. So think about that. The invisible speaker trap is where a speaker is trying to get booked, but nobody knows what they do. So the positioning shift then comes from a leadership speaker to an organizational leadership speaker, a corporate leadership speaker. Like you're defining that category. Your brand is not just a logo. Your brand is not just a bunch of pretty colors and you put it on a website and go, that's my brand. Your brand has to communicate what you do, who you do it for, and the outcome that you're trying to sell. When I work with speakers on their keynote and creating their signature talk, a lot of them will say, let's take my like building resilient leaders and organizations. They'll say, building resilient leaders and organizations, colon, and then a whole bunch of stuff after that. You don't need that. This isn't a book. Your keynote topic, your keynote signature talk is not a book. There's no semicolons, there's no colons, there's no nothing. It's 6 words: building resilient leaders, companies, and organizations, turning high performers into unstoppable achievers. It communicates the problem that you solve because ultimately, as a speaker, you solve problems and you create outcomes. That's it. If you listen to nothing else I say, this is the most important part. You, as a speaker, are booked to solve problems and create outcomes. They want to scale. They want to grow. They want to fix their culture. There's an outcome that they want. They want to increase performance. They want to increase output. There's a problem that they have. You get to solve it and create the outcome or give them the outcome that they want. So it should show up in social media bios, in your website, your podcast intros. When someone's introing me on a podcast, it says I'm an award winning, resilient speaker. I'm a podcaster. I speak to Fortune 500 companies. Like it goes on and on and on about 50 words, but it goes on and on about what I do and who I speak to. When I'm at an event, my goal is to not only do an amazing job, but my goal is to get booked out of that event. Somebody hears the intro and they're like, okay, maybe I could use him at my event. And then I deliver my keynote and I hope that people love it so much that they say, oh my gosh, I'm having an event. We need you to come speak to our group, or we need you to come speak to our company. That's what's great about associations. You can speak at an association event and all of the members belong to different companies and they can bring you in and book you. So the test is, can someone repeat what you do, or can they tell you what you do after hearing it once? Some common mistakes to that is that speakers try to speak to too many topics. So I tell speakers, make $100,000 from one topic and then give yourself permission to speak on something else. If you make $100,000 in 1 year from a leadership talk, resilience talk, business talk, sales, whatever it is, if you make $100,000 from that talk, then you have permission to create another topic. If you're barely getting booked to speak, let's say all your systems are on point, there's no way you're not going to get booked, and you're still not getting booked because of your topic. That topic probably isn't a hot topic and you should probably change it. But if you aren't clear, if you aren't positioned, if you're not in your other category, then you're not going to get booked. So there's some things that you got to clean up. And that's what we work on in the first month. We set the systems right. It's like a deck of cards and they need shuffled. They're all over the place. And so all we're doing is shuffling the cards and putting everything in order. Another mistake that speakers make is there's no defined audience. So you have to know who you're speaking to. And your messaging changes every week. A month ago, they were a crypto expert. A week after that, they were an NFT expert. The week after that, they're an AI expert. The week after that, there's something else. You have to stick with the messaging. If your messaging changes based on what's hot on social media, you're never going to get booked. You have to be known for the one thing. Be known for that one thing that solves a problem. And definitely don't copy other speakers. You don't know what the booking process is for that speaker. You don't know their income. What I've noticed is that a lot of podcasters and a lot of speakers have a 9-to-5 job. This is their side hustle. It looks great on social media. It looks great on their website, but you don't know if they're broke. You don't know if they're getting booked. They'll tell you they're getting booked, but you don't know the truth. You don't know what's going on. So unless you see social proof of them speaking on a stage at least once a week, once a month, couple times a month, whatever, don't copy those speakers. If you don't have this clarity, nothing you do will work. You have to have the clarity. And so I invite you to download the guide, the no BS, no fluff guide to getting booked and paid to speak. I invite you to join the booked and paid speaker blueprint. And I teach you exactly how to get booked and paid to speak consistently. You want to make 50K, 100K, whatever it is? Great. Let's do that. And I'll show you how. If you want help defining who you are as a speaker, who you speak to, who you do it for, the problems that you solve, the positioning statements, the proposition statement, value statement, everything, exactly what you need to gain clarity on what you speak on and who you speak to and create the signature talk, That's what we do in the first month of the Booked and Paid Speaker Blueprint. In the show notes, I will put all of the links to everything that I talked about. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, please reach out on social media. Please reach out to me through email. Everything will be in the show notes. You can watch us on YouTube. You can hear us on your favorite podcast platform. Please share this episode out. Please subscribe, like, comment, engage with us so that more people can find this content, because there are a lot of speakers struggling. And we'll see you on the next episode where we talk about the signature talk, your website, and your speaker reel.